talking to the man about the electrical system, so and I had to stand and listen to what he was saying. You understand? So I guess we're gonna go out front for a minute. Kitty cat will be here soon. I was gonna show you all the garden, but they're out there right now. And it just seems rude to me to go and shove a camera in people's faces when they're not expecting it, right? This is not the cool thing to do, is it? So we'll just sit and hang out. Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day. You want to see? Mm, I love the clouds. The sky's always so beautiful here. Mm-mm-mm. And that is, and then I want to say, but it's huge. It's a huge old shrub. Yeah, so I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I don't know. There's so much going on. Oh, here we go. She's here. Ah, hello, hello. Hey, hey. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Still morning for me. Still waking
Good
up.
morning. I'm so sorry I'm late. We were talking to the electrician. So,
Oh, yeah. I was
yeah.
wondering. I'm like, you're so punctual. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. He was
No, no, that's all
giving
good.
his final verdict on the electrical of the house, and I wanted to stand there and hear what he had to say. You know how
Yeah,
it is.
no, that's important stuff.
Yeah. Um, so how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just trying to get my lighting right here. Here, hold on.
Mhm.
Stupid thing.
No rush.
Oh, I think that's good. You can see it good, right? Not too many shadows.
Yeah, no, yeah. The lighting's fine.
Okay, good. So I hear your birds chirping over on your side.
Oh, it is beautiful here today.
I can tell. That sounds so
Yeah.
nice. It's overcast right
Yeah.
now. It's right over here.
It's been raining here for like a week, so
Mhm.
sympathies, I completely sympathize.
Actually, today's the one day that has been like this. Like the last few days have been beautiful, wonderful.
Hmm.
It's gonna be a hot one, which is a little scary thinking about forest fires because up in BC, we get like fire nados up here now, so that's always fun.
Wow.
Yeah, where
Wow.
it's so the heat's so strong it creates a fire nado. Sounds like something from
That's
like a bad B movie, but it's true. This happens.
I know. I know they do.
Yeah,
They're not supposed to happen up there though. Holy shit.
all the time. I think there's
Wow.
footage of like firemen trying to with up in the forest trying to like work on this fire, and like it literally sucks the hose out of his hand and it goes straight up into this fire nade, like this orange swirl. It's
Wow.
nuts. Yeah.
Like, hey Paisley Davis, what up? Am I crazy or is that not supposed to happen up there?
It never happened before. This is new.
Right. Yeah.
This has been new since like for the past, I want to say 10 years. That's like since ever. It never existed before that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is recent. This is recent.
It's funny. I hate to sound like I'm bragging, but the weather here is actually going the other direction because we live on the edge of what was a deciduous rainforest anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just getting wetter and wetter. I like,
Well, that's the thing with people, like, because like now I'm seeing a resurgence of people not taking climate change seriously. And the reason why they changed it from global warming to climate change is because the temperature is what causes extreme weather. That's
hmm
why climate change, right? It is going to change to extreme. So that doesn't mean it's not going to get colder in some places. It's going to be extreme in places. So you're going to have one
right.
day where it's super hot, the next day all of a sudden it goes straight down super cold. Like
Well,
it's
and like
more
the
extremes.
hi, Star Gaming official. What up, Shy Star? Sorry, Shyster. Haha, nice. No,
Oh,
and I like if you look at the climate bands. I don't know. This place is kind of going to become Florida, basically. Like,
yeah, probably. Yeah, well, it's going to be definitely changing.
yeah,
Tell you that much.
yeah,
The problem is it won't be too much like Florida, in the fact that there's going to be nothing to like be able to adapt to it because like it's going to change to a point where the species can adapt to that sort of change of weather. So that's gonna end up dying off, which is gonna cause other significant changes. So it's really hard to tell what's gonna become like at the when it starts to get bad, which is already starting to have. But you know what I mean? Like it's hard to predict.
Yeah, it's way too many variables to actually predict, I
Yeah, well,
think.
that's what exactly. Even now, they don't have the ability to predict all the variables, even with like supercomputers. Because
Yeah.
that's how many variables there is to take account of that. Because there's variables that we don't understand that's going to change it once a certain variable hits and the change happens. We don't know what gonna that's going to create another variable or not, right? So the best is predictions, which
Yeah.
it's getting harder to predict because of the variables that are being taken place. So, you know what I mean? It's a
Mm.
I don't like to talk about that. That also gets me a little bit of black pill.
I'm
So
sorry.
there you go.
I didn't mean to hit a button.
It's appropriate today. I mean, considering we're gonna start
Yeah.
getting into like the point where for today's talk we're gonna be getting into like certain how build up of the misogyny, and you can definitely because I read this chapter last night just to freshen up,
Mhm.
and you can see some of the punishments eerily similar to some of the stuff from the witch burnings start to happen, and how that you will get there. We'll get there.
And it's just, I keep finding this stuff where either academically or esoterically people take any of the stuff from those confessions seriously at all, and I just have to like leave. I'm like, nope, and I just click away. I'm like, oh my god, that makes me so angry.
Yeah,
Oh my god, yeah, right, they were, oh my god, like it's in strange places. Like I think I'm listening to like a historian, right?
yeah.
And then they come out with this stuff about the ointments, and I'm like, you're not serious. You're not serious right now. Oh my god, I'm gonna vomit. Like, oh god. Anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is a lot of this shit is still around, and people don't understand that we're given under extreme duress, and like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They don't talk about that about. I'm sorry, just to get like,
No, it's all good.
like they said the same of Jews during the Inquisition,
Yeah,
and had them confessing to the same shit.
yeah.
Nobody
They
believes
did.
that about them, do they? Because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, like the fact that there's no historical connection between other than from what I've seen, uh, Sylvia's work is the connection between the witch burnings and colonial expansion into the New World and the Atlantic slave trade, because the similarities are staggering, staggering,
It's the
and
same
they'll
system
go into
doing the
it.
same thing in different directions, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, like it's like I think she worded it this way that it served as a beta test. I think I seen that in one
Mm.
of her interviews. How they're like, "Oh, this worked well, didn't it? Really fucked them over,
Let's
didn't
scale it
it?"
up.
So let's try it
Wow.
again on these people.
Right, we'll scale it up. Yeah,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, basically, right? They're like, "Oh, this is nice.
Oh,
This is nice. We can terrorize people. I like that." Like
and it works. Yeah,
and it
imagine.
works. It works, and it's still working to this day.
Right, yeah.
If you're up on some the foreign policy and imperialist sort of expansion that's happening now into countries in the third world, right? It's these similarities. Even the sequel to this, because there is a sequel. It's a very small book though, um, where she talks about present day witch hunts now have gone back into fashion, particularly like in the third world, which is interesting because like where the colonial grip hold is so strong that those sort of tendencies of misogyny are coming back. So
Hmm.
interesting, yeah. Which we don't always
Yeah.
hear, we don't experience, but that doesn't mean there's something going on down there when it comes to that and how it plays up with us because it's our governments who go down there and do those things in our name. But
Right, right. It's not as if it somehow doesn't affect us.
it
Or
should.
we're
It's just
not.
that they try to make it seem like it doesn't, like that we're not a part of it, out of sight, out of mind. That's what expropriating violence of our state is about, right? People don't, I
Right.
don't think, understand because they don't see it. They don't know about it. They don't like. So if they then they're like, well, it can't be that bad. Like things can get really bad considering what they do to other people. You think they give a shit about you? They don't. Right. This is
Right.
why it's annoying when people kind of fall in the lines of the two political systems. Of like either of those parties will have no problem doing the same thing to you because they're already doing it to someone else. To
Yeah.
think it's not going to come back to you, you're ridiculously like kidding yourself. You live in a fantasy world. But anyways,
It's just that it's childish that, oh, it wouldn't happen to me.
yeah, they don't see. They don't. I don't think understand. Like I've heard the most horrific accounts from people, like talking about like what's like happened when their country's been cooed. Like was it Argentina or was it Chile? I think it was Chile. When in the 60s when they did the first shock and awe of capitalism where they overtook the government and coup, like they made a stadium into a big prison for civilians, and one with like I actually know I'm not going to go into detail because it's really disgusting, and
Mm.
you probably get cited at YouTube actually if I explain what
Yeah,
happened to
yeah.
her. But yeah, no, like some of the most
Demonetize me and
vile
take
things
away
that
my
you will
living.
ever couldn't even imagine experiencing, we do to people over there. And when I say we, I mean our governments in our name, right?
Right now,
So
I had to accept a long time ago that as bad as you think the world might be, it's
yeah,
worse.
yeah, yeah.
Because you're a good person and you wouldn't even think of some of the shit those people do.
They're psychos because they've been doing it for so long. It's normal to them.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're so disassociated, separated into their own
Well, like,
class of people. People don't realize they're very class conscious. They see you as
uh,
a different species entirely. They see you like they would see a fucking like a cow grazing on the field or like a horse plowing. Like they see you as a tool of work for them and them alone, and they have no problem like taking you out just like they would if they a horse with a lame foot,
yeah,
basically.
right.
They
No,
see
and what
you as
I'm
a different
saying is that,
species. They don't
like,
see you as human. So yeah,
I get that. I do unfortunately get that. And
yeah,
like, but what I'm saying is, as the person who's sitting there worrying about people you don't know, you can't even imagine what those people would do. You can't even, you're not just not, they do shit you can't even think of
yeah,
because you're just not that sort of person, or you wouldn't be worrying about somebody you don't know.
yeah.
Which,
This is
I
like a
hate to
great
say this.
conversation in the morning.
No, I have a little philosophical question for you now based on that because it's so awful. Like,
Yep.
be careful when you're hunting monsters lest you become one. Because I kind of feel the same way about people like that. They're subhuman. Nothing.
Well, I think there's justification for that. I don't think like I know becoming monster yourself, but there's nothing monstrous about defending what you love and people that you love and defending your own life at the same time. There's just not. It's for different, completely motivated reasons.
Yeah. No, right. And
So
I just, if somebody who could be unconcerned about other human beings to the extent that they could treat them that way, there's something wrong with them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hi, Geek Girl.
exactly.
How you doing? Yeah. No, I do feel that way. And
So
I
philosophically, I think the what I hold on to is it's not the same because it's fighting for different reasons. Even if like you were to like you know do like I don't know some really crazy shit, like there's a different motivation behind it. So
Context is queen.
and the
Hmm.
thing is, power won't give up unless it's not just going to give up its power unless it's forced to, and
Right, right,
literally.
right. No, and
So
I'm
so
fond of
if you're not
saying,
willing to do that, then you know what, you're probably not going to win because they will do anything.
you wave
And
back and say hi to your phone.
not saying give up your morals, but you have to keep that in mind.
Well,
But
and bad people win. Good people lose because bad people cheat.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what makes it hard, eh?
Well, and they had to give like Superman superpowers because anybody who's lawful good, you need to be superhuman in order to get something done.
Yeah, yeah, and like
Sorry.
yeah, it's a hard one.
Uh,
Are you seeing chat? Because I'm not seeing any chat.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Geek Girl's here. She sent me $10. Thank you, honey.
Oh, so I
Um,
don't know why I'm not
I don't know
welcome
why
to.
you wouldn't be seeing that. I certainly didn't set it up so you couldn't see it.
Oh, woo! I
Um,
just knocked that over. Hold on, let me.
ah,
Woo! Let me just see if I can live chat. All messages are visible. How about we do that? Oh, there we go. I must have pressed something when I was setting up my phone thing,
mm.
my camera thing. Part 5. We're actually
So many little buttons.
day 7, not 5.
Is it 7? Okay, I think that I don't know. I was just trying to get it up, honestly. I almost
You know what?
titled
And
it
I'm
Sorry
sorry,
I'm
I
Late.
keep forgetting to send you the thumbnail. I just
Okay.
remembered now.
Like I said, I almost titled it Sorry I'm Late.
Don't
Like,
worry
it's
about it.
fine.
Late.
It's
I've been
fine. Not
late.
that big deal. Yeah, it's.
It's early for me, anyways. Maybe not for the regular person, but for me it is. So, yeah, let me just quickly. My phone's
Yeah.
not charged completely. I'm gonna see if I
And
can
I
plug it in.
console myself that, aside from Geek Girl, who, mwah, love to you, honey, I don't mean to discount your view, of course, but most people watch these after they go up, so,
Yeah,
you know,
is that gonna work? No, I don't think
the
so.
difference of 5 minutes is just not going to matter at all to them.
Yeah, no, I know, right? It's in our favor. I'm just trying to see if I can plug this in somehow. Um, hold on. See if this works.
Mm.
Yeah, my phone's gonna die. I forgot to plug it in last night again.
Oh, no. Does that mean we're going to get
Well,
cut
I mean,
off?
I remember last time it wasn't plugged in fully. This time I completely it was my fault.
Oi.
I just didn't do it.
Does that mean we're going to get cut off?
Nope, that means I just have to make sure to put this plugged in into another outlet. Here, hold on.
Okay.
It's gonna get dark. Then this and
I always miss live stream beginnings, but I'll have to catch up sometime, but I got to get some stuff done. TTYL. Okay. Bye, honey. Relatable, highly, highly relatable. And
so you
just
might
in
have to
case
just look at my
anybody.
ugly chords here, but who cares?
Oh no, it's
And then
ruined.
stream's ruined. I know, right? Okay, no, that's
um,
not working.
no, but just in case anybody is watching this and wants to play along, I'm gonna mute myself while she's talking, so like you won't hear any of this background noise. You'll just be able to hear her, and then we're gonna have do discussion afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you're watching live, take notes and ask questions afterwards, and otherwise, well, I guess it's a recording, so
Yeah, hold on.
sorry. You should come at noon every other Wednesday. We do this live, so.
There we go. I think that works.
You should
Hold
come
on.
chit chat with us about the downfall of civilization. Because
It's the good times.
yeah, yeah, it's great stuff. Because that's what happens when it's like they're killing the goose that laid the golden egg. I swear, it's ridiculous.
Oh, come on. Oh, my crying out loud. It's not plugging in because these are so old outlets. Hold on.
Yeah, we were just talking with our an electrician about ours this morning. Like I say, I know
Yeah,
how
right.
that is.
It's fucking
Oh my
annoying.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Hold on, I'm just gonna try to get it. Ah! You
Are you
see it all
okay?
over?
Oh my god, yeah,
Come on
okay.
top of me.
Oh
Okay.
my god. Today's
Too
an
many
is an
freaking
we're
cords
having
that aren't fitting.
we're having an adventure today. It's okay.
We are obviously quite.
Mhm.
Hold on, I might have to find a box, put it up higher.
It happens sometimes. It's an adventure sometimes. It's okay. Maybe I'll take it out back and show off, I'll show my plants while you talk for a minute, give them something
Yeah.
to look at besides my face.
Okay.
While I sit here and go, oh my God, what? Oh no,
Yeah. Roll over. Okay, that should be okay. Stop moving. Okay, hold on.
Uh, so how far through the book are we?
Oh, hold on. I can't speak. I'm trying to fix this.
Okay.
Come on. Okay, I'm gonna have to tape it up here. Tape the cord in place.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at you. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny because I'm like such a bum man's job, but whatever, it works. I feel like MacGyver now. I got like this setup that's not like really like it's not all the fancy equipment, like it's just stuff that I literally put together. I've got like my light here that
Yeah.
is I got from the dollar store that I taped a Swiffer sweeper handle on. So and then taped
Can
that
I
to my stand so that it can work at the right height. And like you should see my setup. It's ridiculous.
can I ask you something really mean though?
Okay.
Can you turn that 90 degrees?
No, I don't know how it works.
No, the clipboard. Literally just the clipboard.
Oh, this?
Yeah. Other way.
I'm like, you want me to move it 90 degrees, like the actual thing,
Yeah.
like stand? I'm like, are
No,
you
no,
kidding
no,
me?
no, 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 no.
Yeah, that I
There
can
we
do.
go. There we go. Now it
Is
and
that?
I are both the same way up.
Oh, okay. I don't see
Yeah.
it that way from my end, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
cool, cool,
and I
cool.
haven't wanted to mention it, but I can't take it anymore.
I didn't know it was backwards or upside down.
Oh my gosh.
Because right now it looks upside down to me, but that's
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah. Whatever. I don't get
Mm-mm-mm.
it, but whatever. Whatever works. So now I got that all fixed up. So now I'm plugged in, so I won't die on us.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. I'll get my thing here. And yeah, so what, let's see, you asked about how far along we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not even halfway through.
Okay.
Well,
Well, because I'm just thinking, how long do I want to put off reading my book for the channel? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you can do it. You can do that
maybe
too.
we'll do. I was thinking we might do that next as like a little breather, like
Yeah, sure.
before we jump into something else heavy if we were going to do that. But
Yeah, so how about, okay, because there's this chapter and then, well, not chapter, but there's this day and then the next time
uh-huh.
you do one and if I do one next time as well, then the chapter ends. So do you want to do it at the end of the chapter? Take a breathe?
Well, I mean, it depends on where that chapter ends, right? Like
Well, I just
where.
said it ends not today. I'll have to read the next time as well, but then after that's end.
Well, I mean, like content wise, I don't want to interrupt something,
Well, it's a
just so we could
different
get.
chapter, so I'm pretty sure that there's going to be that's good potential to have a break, right? Because I think at that
Yeah.
point we get into actually because it's that chapter is going to be a long chapter. It's called Caliban and the Witch, and there's no sub sections, so it's all
Oh,
one full
okay.
chapter. And I think it goes into the witch burnings more thoroughly at that time. Right now we're still doing that
Ah.
build up, right? We're getting
Mm-hmm.
close to it.
Okay.
So do you
Because
want to do
I'm
that?
having
Like
this problem
stop?
where, yeah, maybe, because like 'cause this is my own creative weirdness, but like I'm having this problem where I'm kind of stuck on part one before I get that done, and
Yeah.
until I get that done, and then and like I'm trying to start draft three of part one, and it's not no, that's not, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
There's like an extra there's another layer I'm trying to come up with before I've written the rest of it again, and it doesn't it's putting the horse before the cart really bad. Let's just say that.
Oh, okay.
So,
Listen, your channel. You let me know what you want to do. It works
okay,
fine with me, no matter what it is. It works.
okay. Are you gonna
So,
want to like? If you're gonna want to come and hang out with me while I read
well,
it
yeah, I'll
live,
be
I would.
here.
Oh,
Of
because that
course, I'm
would be
going to be
so much
here.
fun. That would actually be really fun
Yeah,
to like get a
yeah.
live reaction. And you've read it already. And there's one thing that I tweaked
Mm-hmm.
since you read it. So
A tweet. I thought you said tweet. Tweaked. Okay,
no,
yeah. Then yeah, I would
no.
like to. I would like to know. I would like to hear what you tweaked.
Yeah, we'll see if you can spot it. That might be fun.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun. Oh, don't do that to me.
Yeah.
My brain, my poor brain, would be on trial. Okay, yeah, no, that'll be fun.
Oh, okay. Because I'll totally tell you the answer. Like,
Okay, I might remember anyways. Like I'm just you're putting me on the spot is what you're doing.
well, I mean, you've been put on the spot this whole time. I mean,
Well, I'm used to it, I guess. I'll deal with
oh,
it.
you volunteered to be my, co-host essentially. So,
Yeah, I'm having fun too.
yeah,
So
I'm
I get
so
to
glad.
rant.
Me
I get
too.
to rant without like autocorrect because usually I'm ranting in the comments. So like,
That's true.
and my
And it
stupid
deletes
phone
your
has a lot
damn
of
comments.
autocorrect.
Oh
Hmm?
my God, it deletes your damn comments all the time too.
All
That's
the
so
time,
annoying.
all the time. It's like really YouTube.
This
I'm
is a
like,
much
it
more
really
effective
doesn't
way.
want you informed at all about anything.
No, no, no. And this really is a much more effective way of doing that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe how heavy-handed they have the comments section though. It's ridiculous. I wonder if
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like for live, but I know if you upload videos, you have to go to advanced settings before posting your video and go down
Hmm.
to the comic section because it has on there's three options and automatically it puts it on moderate. And you have to take that off if you
Hmm.
want. Yeah, because it'll hold back comments that it seems that they deem to be inappropriate. Yeah. So you can take
Nice.
that off. I know for
Hmm.
posting videos. I don't know how it is with live though.
It's probably there isn't the advanced settings are just in there before I go live. So I have
Yeah.
to probably do that before it starts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would do that. I've never done live YouTube.
I hadn't thought about it. No, I guess you're just on here talking to me, so I'm not worried about it right now. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. But when I'm in the
okay.
chat, like, damn, like, it's like, is anybody, like, I'm getting no response. Is nobody can see these? I've, like, been talking, like, 5 times. Like, nothing's coming up.
Oh, that is so frustrating. And like on my
And
end,
you
it's like
don't know
I'm
because you can see your comment. You can see your comment. So it's
right,
like everyone's just
right,
ignoring you.
right. That's awful. And then when I figure out that that's happened to you or anybody, I'm like, I'm supposed to be hosting this bitch, and I can't even like
Probably
do that.
host because YouTube,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Ah,
What a dick.
right. Anyways, so I guess yeah, a couple weeks from now, I'll read at least some of it. I don't know how long it's gonna take.
Yeah. Well, I
So
probably will have time to read as much like you're like be around as long as you want. I just have to make sure to write down that day that we might do some overtime. The reason why
yeah.
I don't know how you are. I just like to set these up in certain sections because I do get
Hmm.
tired. My throat does get tired. I'm not used to talking for so long. But I don't
Right,
know
and
how
it's
you
just
are.
no, yeah, no, yeah. It's chapters and then a section of the book, and I guess we'll just cut it at a chapter when my throat gets tired. I was thinking probably a couple
Yeah.
hours. I guess they'll be out of school by then because ordinarily I have to leave by 3 o'clock.
Oh, I don't know. I
Yeah,
think they
no, but
still will be in school. I think they'll still be in school, at
no,
least a
ours will
lot.
be out in 2 weeks. Ours will be out by then.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but then they
Ours
go
is
back
longer,
at
so
the.
my kid will at least be in school.
Oh my God, their first day back though is the 31st of July.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah.
That's summer school. That's not. What?
I know, I know, I know. The entire month of August is school for them around here. I know.
Oh my God! Really?
I Yeah,
Is
it's
that regular? Is
bonkers.
that normal? That doesn't.
Yeah,
What?
no, I know. I've been here for a decade. It blows my mind every year.
Because you seem so shocked. Maybe they're like, no, it just it blows my mind.
No,
It's like
no,
weird.
no, no. It's
Because
just that
that's
when
so
I was a
weird.
kid,
Oh, that's weird.
no, right, when I was a kid, that's when the state fair was, and like you went on if you were going to go on
Right?
vacation, that's when you went. It was in
My
August, and like,
my kid gets out at the end of June and doesn't come back till after Labor Day weekend, so in September, the start of September.
wow, okay. See, that's what they used to do here in the States, and now they have built in a lot more like long breaks into the school year.
Yeah, well, it's a problem up here because they've also built in long breaks. You know how many pro D days he has? It's ridiculous. but the
That is
education
weird.
system's gone really like downhill.
Oh,
Back in
yeah.
my day.
We could talk about another thing we could go on and on about, right? I'm just
Oh
sure.
yeah. Oh yeah, especially I feel so bad for the kids, like the younger generation that are working, like they're looking their little part time jobs at Tim Hortons or like the fast food area. You know what I mean? And you give them money, and they can't add or subtract it, change. It's that bad here. They look so confused because they're not teaching them really much at school.
Right.
How
Whoa.
you know how bad that is? I feel so bad because they look embarrassed, and I feel so bad for these kids.
Ugh. You're going in and out.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw that. Am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay, that was weird.
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying, no, I just feel so bad for these kids because what they're doing is teach them just barely enough to function as like someone working at fast food. Like they're just like they've dumbed down the people here through the education system so bad that they cannot think much of any. Like they're just so like, yeah, they're like pretty bad levels, down bad. Like, they're not going to be. I don't know how these kids can critically think. They can't even like do adding and subtracting money. Just smart enough just to work the machines, and that's it. That's all they want for these kids
Gee, I
here.
wonder why.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. I'm like, oh damn. And
And then
people
they're not
are
even
so
going to need
so
them for
tied
that
in from working a
anymore,
lot
or
of
what?
jobs, they don't have time to to educate their kids that school should be
Uh,
educating. And I probably don't even realize how bad their kids are getting with when it comes to the education because they quit giving out letter grades in place of like something that's more a holistic thing for him. But it's still letter grading without calling it letter grading, but it makes it confusing to parents to know where the level of their education that their kid can comprehend. And so they're not knowing that their kids are not learning anything. The kids aren't learning anything and everything's going to shit.
they
It's
took
so
away
bad.
letter grades?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bad, eh? And they don't
Okay.
fail kids anymore. They don't fail kids. I remember back in the day in high school, if you failed, you redo the class.
Right, right,
They
right. They
just send
stopped
them
doing
into the
that
next
here.
one without being able to like comprehend the next like grade because they failed the previous. So you keep
Right.
learning. You have to build upon that. So how they're going to learn there? They just keep pushing them through, push them through. Oh
They
yeah,
called that No Child Left Behind here. Yeah. They
yeah,
did that like 20 years ago here. Yeah.
yeah. That's what they're doing here now too. They just do it secretly. Now they just don't do it. They didn't make a big fuss about it, right?
Wow.
Or because they don't want people
Yeah.
associating it with that because it's so because it's so
Right.
widely known to be a horrendous
Because it's so
stance that they
bad.
took.
Yeah. Right.
So they
Well,
don't
and like
want to associate that.
I didn't really see that until our kids got into high school and we started hearing about the ones like if you don't graduate, you just don't graduate.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hmm.
What? What?
Yeah. Well, I
That's
mean,
not how that's
and
supposed to work.
obviously that's what's happening because, like I said, the kids can't even do math with coin. They can't even make change without their
Right.
calculator's computer. Like if like you want to get, they put in a number and I have it up like say 10 a dime or whatever, like 10 cents to make it so that
Hmm.
I can get a paper bill back instead of like a bunch of change. Give them 10 cents and they
Right.
look at you like, oh my god, it's like
Right.
that bad. Like they can't figure it out. It's like
Ooh.
and they have to like slowly explain to them why you're getting back the like say $5 paper instead of like 480
Yeah.
and change, right? They
Uh,
can't, or it's not 480, sorry, 490. They can't figure out the math just with like even like a dime difference. It's so sad.
uh, they all sound like me. That's terrible. I'm just bad at math, so.
Yeah, but that even that you couldn't figure that out if I gave you if you're gonna
No,
give
I
your
mean, yeah, that's the thing I was gonna say is addition and subtraction. You do like eventually have to just sort of learn that through repetition in life
yeah.
because even if you never work as a cashier, you're gonna buy things.
Well, yeah, you don't want to get ripped off. Added, I mean, granted, I did do a lot of bartending, waitressing, so you have to do that like
Yeah.
right there. But like but even then, like before that, I was working at like retail fast food, and I could do that then when I was a kid without no problem. So the fact that these kids, like younger, like when I say kids, I mean like in early 20s,
Right.
right? So
Right.
just
No, our oldest is going to be 23 this year. So, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's sad. Anyway, now that we've all depressed you,
Let's go
yeah, let's
back in
start with
time.
this. So I'm just going to, yeah, okay, this is gonna be weird because it's upside down for me. So we're
I'm
doing
sorry.
no, don't worry about it. Chapter 2, the accumulation of labor and the degradation of women, part 3, with 4 subcategories this time because they're a little small. With the devaluation of women's labor, women, the new common, and the substitute for the lost land, the patriarchy of the wage, and the taming of women, and redefining or redefinition of femininity and masculinity, women, the savages of Europe.
Mm.
So, yeah, I've been smoking, so hold on, I have to put that out. And I'm just gonna set up my mic, and we'll get started.
Okay.
Because I could like seriously rant about this forever. So,
Yeah.
be
Well, and
some
maybe we
point.
should just we could just have a rant week if you want sometime.
We could do another rant. Yeah, yeah, do a rant week sometime. Just do ranting
Mm. Mhm.
about the different
Yeah.
things, happenings, and goings on right now. Because there's a lot of
I
it.
just noticed
Boy, is there
there's
a lot.
enough. Yeah, right. Yeah.
We could do
Ugh.
this like 3 times a week, 5 times a week, and we'd have enough time to things to rant about.
True, true, true. Although I was thinking about maybe doing it every week, and then I realized like I don't know. Maybe during the summer.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I'm also going to be doing a lot of things in the summer,
Hmm.
so we'll have to time that out if you want me to come in live. Because I'll be off in the
Yeah.
wilderness camping, hoping I don't get burned alive by some
Ooh,
forest fire for fire NATO. So hopefully you'll
what a
come
way to
back to me.
go! What a way to
Hmm?
go that would be.
Yeah,
Get sucked
right.
into a fire NATO. What a way to go.
The scariest shit alive you can think of the
Eh,
dying. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'd be like,
You'd be
wow,
like a
I'd take a
Sharknado. You Sharknado got nothing on fire, NATO.
right. Oh my gosh. They'll catch you unawares in your tent at night. Can't say that about a shark.
That's right. Oh, that's bad. That's sad.
I'm sorry. That sounds
No, that's
terrifying.
okay.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thanks. All right, I'm gonna plug in my mic now,
Okay.
and then
All right.
yep,
I'll be
we'll
on mute
start.
myself. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So let's begin with the devaluation of women's labor. The criminalization of women's control over procreation is a phenomenon whose importance cannot be overemphasized, both from the viewpoint of its effects on women and its consequences for the capitalist organization of work. As is well documented through the Middle Ages, women had possessed many means of contraception, mostly consisting of herbs which turned into potions and suppositories were used to quicken a woman's period, provoke an abortion, or create a condition of sterility. In Eve's Herbs, A History of Contraception in the West, circa 1997, the American historian John Riddle has given us an extensive catalog of the substances that were most used and the effects expected of them, or most likely to occur. The criminalization of contraception expropriated women from this knowledge that had been transmitted from generation to generation, giving them some autonomy with respect to childbirth. It appears that, in some cases, this knowledge was not lost but was only driven underground. Yet, when birth control again made its appearance on the social scene, contraceptive methods were no longer of the type that women could use, but were specifically created for use by men. What demographic consequences followed from this shift is a question that, for the moment, I will not pursue, though I refer to Riddle's work for a discussion of, of this matter. Here, I only want to stress that by denying women control over their bodies, the state deprived them of the most fundamental condition for physical and psychological integrity, and degraded maternity to the status of forced labor. In addition to in addition to confining women to reproductive work in a way unknown in previous societies. Nevertheless, forcing women to procreate against their will or forcing them to produce children for the state, only in part to find women's function in the new sexual division of labor. A complementary definition of women as non-workers, a process much studied by feminist historians, which by the end of the 17th century was nearly completed. By this time, women were losing ground even with respect to jobs that had been their prerogatives, such as ale brewing and midwifery, where their employment was subjected to new restrictions. Proletarian women, in particular, found it difficult to obtain any job other than those carrying the lowest status as domestic servants, the occupation of a third of the female workforce, farmhands, spinners, knitters, embroiderers, hawkers, wet nurses. As Mary Weinsner, among others, tells us, the assumption was gaining ground in the law, in the tax records, in the ordinances of the guilds, that women should not work outside the home and should engage in production only in order to help their husbands. It was even argued that any work that women did at home was non-work and was worthless even when done for the market. Thus, if a woman sewed some clothes, it was domestic work or housekeeping, even if the clothes were not for the family, whereas when a man did the same task, it was considered productive. Such was the devaluation of women's labor that city governments told the guilds to overlook the production that women, especially widows, did in their homes because it was not real work, and because the women needed it not to fall on public relief. Weisner adds that women accepted this fiction and even apologized for asking to work, pleading for it on account of their need to support themselves. Soon, all female work, if done in the home, was defined as housekeeping, and even when done outside the home, it was paid less than men's work and never enough for women to be able to live by it. Marriage was now seen as a woman's true career, and women's inability to support themselves was taken so much for granted that when a single woman tried to settle in a village, she was driven away even if she earned a wage. Combined with land dispossession, this loss of power with regard to wage employment led to the massification of prostitution. As the Roy Lederle reports, the growth in the number of prostitutes in France was visible everywhere. Quote, from Avignon to Narbonne to Barcelona, sporting women stationed themselves at the gates of the cities and streets of red light districts and on the bridges, so that by 1594, the shameful traffic was flourishing as never before, end quote, by Roy Lederle, circa 1974. The situation was similar in England and Spain, where every day in the cities, poor women arriving from the countryside, and even the wives of craftsmen, rounded up the family income with this work. A proclamation issued by the political authorities in Madrid in 1631 denounced the problem, complaining that many vagabond women were now wandering among the city streets, alleys, and taverns, enticing men to sin with them. But no sooner had prostitution become the main form of subsistence for a large female population than the institutional attitude towards it changed. Whereas in the late Middle Ages, it had been officially accepted as a necessary evil, and prostitutes had benefited from the high wage regime, in the 16th century, the situation was reversed. In a climate of intense misogyny, characterized by the advance of the Protestant Reformation and witch hunting, prostitution was first subjected to new restrictions and then criminalized. Everywhere between 1530 and 1560, town brothels were closed and prostitutes, especially streetwalkers, were subjected to severe penalties, banishment, flogging, and other cruel forms of chastisement. Among them was the ducking stool, or akabasade, which is known as a piece of grim theater, as Nikki Roberts described it, whereby the victims were tied up. Sometimes they were forced into a cage and then were repeatedly immersed in rivers or ponds till they almost drowned. Meanwhile, in 16th century France, the raping of a prostitute ceased to be a crime. In Madrid, it was decided that female vagabonds and prostitutes should not be allowed to stay and sleep in the streets and under the porticos of the town, and if caught, should be given 100 lashes, and then should be banned from the city for 6 years, in addition to having their heads and eyebrows shaved. What can account for this drastic attack on female workers? And how does the exclusion of women from the sphere of socially recognized work and monetary relations relate to the imposition of forced maternity upon them, and the contemporary massification of the witch hunt. Looking at these phenomena from the vantage point of the present, after 4 centuries of capitalist disciplining of women, the answers may seem to impose themselves. Though women's waged work, housework, and paid sexual work are still studied all too often in isolation from each other, we are now in a better position to see that the discrimination that women have suffered in the waged workforce has been directly rooted in their function as unpaid laborers in the home. We can thus connect the banning of prostitution and the expulsion of women from the organized workplace with the creation of the housewife and the reconstruction of the family as the locus for the production of labor power. However, from a theoretical and a political viewpoint, the fundamental question is under what conditions such degradation was possible and what social forces promoted it or were complicitous of it. The answer here is that an important factor in the devaluation of women's labor was the campaign that craft workers mounted, starting in the late 15th century, to exclude female workers from their workshops, presumably to protect themselves from the assaults of the capitalist merchants, who were employing women at cheaper rates. The craftsmen's efforts have left an abundant trail of evidence. Whether in Italy, France, or Germany, journeymen petitioned the authorities not to allow women to compete with them, banned them from their ranks, went on strike when the ban was not observed, and even refused to work with men who worked with women. It appears that the craftsmen were also interested in limiting women to domestic work, because given their economic difficulties, the prudent household management on the part of the wife was becoming for them an indispensable condition for avoiding bankruptcy and for keeping an independent shop. The author Sigrid Brunner speaks of the importance accorded by the German artisans to this social rule. Women tried to resist this onslaught, but faced with the intimidating tactics male workers used against them, failed. Those who dared to work out of the home in a public space and for the market were portrayed as sexually aggressive shrews or even as whores and witches. Indeed, there is evidence that the wave of misogyny that by the late 15th century was mounting in the European cities reflected in the male obsession with the battle for the breeches, and with the character of the disobedient wife, pictured in the popular literature in the act of beating her husband or riding on his back, emanated also from this self-defeating attempt to drive women from the workplace and from the market. On the other hand, it is clear that this attempt would not have succeeded if the authorities had not cooperated with it, but they obviously saw that it was in their interests to do so. For, in addition to pacifying the rebellious journeymen, the displacement of women from the crafts provided the necessary basis for their fixation in reproductive labor and their utilization as low-waged workers in cottage industry. Next subsection, women, the new commons, and the substitute for lost land. It was from this alliance between the crafts and the urban authorities, along with the continuing privatization of land, that a new sexual division of labor, or better, a new sexual contract, in Carol Pateman's words circa 1988, was forged, defining women in terms mothers, wives, daughters, widows, that hid their status as workers while giving men free access to women's bodies, their labor, and the bodies and labor of their children. According to this new social sexual contract, proletarian women became for male workers the substitute for the land lost to the enclosures, their most basic means of reproduction, and a communal good anyone could appropriate and use at will. Echoes of this primitive appropriation can be heard in the concepts of the common women, which in the 16th century qualified those who prostituted themselves. But in the new organization of work, every woman, other than those privatized by bourgeois men, became a communal good. For once women's activities were defined as non-work, women's labor began to appear as a natural resource available to all, no less than the air we breathe or the water we drink. This was for women a historic defeat. With their expulsion from the crafts and the devaluation of reproductive labor, poverty became feminized, and to enforce men's primary appropriation of women's labor, a new patriarchal order was constructed, reducing women to a double dependence on employers and on men. The fact that unequal power relations between women and men existed even prior to the advent of capitalism, as did a discriminating sexual division of labor, does not detract from this assessment. For in pre capitalist Europe, women's subordination to men had been tempered by the fact that they had access to the commons and other communal assets, while in the new capitalist regime, women themselves became the commons, as their work was defined as a natural resource, laying outside the sphere of market relations. Then the next subsection is the patriarchy of the wage. Significant in this context are the changes that took place within the family, which, in this period, began to separate from the public sphere and acquire its modern connotations as the main center for the reproduction of the workforce. The counterpart of the market, the instrument for the privatization of social relations, and above all, for the propagation of capitalist discipline and patriarchal rule, the family emerges in the period of primitive accumulation also as the most important institution for the appropriation and concealment of women's labor. We see this in particular when we look at the working class family. This is a subject. This is a subjective as has been under. No, sorry. This as a subject has been understudied. Previous discussions have privileged the family of propertied men, plausibly because at the time to which we are referring, it was the dominant form and the model for parental and marital relations. There has also been more interest in the family as a political institution than as a place of work. What has been emphasized then is that in the new bourgeois family, the husband became the representative of the state, charged with disciplining and supervising the subordinate classes, a category that for 16th and 17th century political theorist John Bodin, for example, included the man's wife and his children. Thus, the identification of the family as a microstate or a microchurch, and the demand by the authorities that single workers live under the roof and rule of the master. It is also pointed out that within the bourgeois family, the woman lost much of her power, being generally excluded from the family business and confined to the supervision of the household. But what is missing in this picture is a recognition that, while in the upper class, it was property that gave the husband power over his wife and children, a similar power was granted to working class men over women by means of women's exclusion from the wage. Exemplary of this trend was the family of the cottage workers in the putting out system. Far from shunning marriage and family making, male cottage workers depended on it, for a wife could help, quote unquote, them with the work they would do for the merchants, while caring for their physical needs and providing them with children, who from an early age could be employed at the loom or in some subsidiary occupation. Thus, even in times of population decline, cottage workers apparently continued to multiply. Their families were so large that a contemporary 17th century Austrian, looking at those living in his village, described them as packed in their homes like sparrows on a rafter. What stands out in this type of arrangement is that though the wife worked side by side with her husband, she too producing for the market, it was the husband who now received her wage. This was true also for other female workers once they married. In England, a married man was legally entitled to his wife's earnings, even when the job she did was nursing or breastfeeding. Thus, when a parish employed women to do this kind of job, the records frequently hid their presence as workers, registering the payment made in the men's names. Whether the payment was made to the husband or to the wife depended on the whim of the clerk. This policy, making it impossible for women to have money of their own, created the material conditions for their subjugation to men and the appropriation of their labor by male workers. It is in this sense that I speak of the patriarchy of the wage. We must also rethink the concept of wage slavery. If it is true that male workers became only formally free under the new wage labor regime, the group of workers who, in the transition to capitalism, most approached the condition of slaves was working class women. At the same time, given the wretched conditions in which waged workers lived, the housework that women performed to reproduce their families was necessarily limited. Married or not, proletarian women needed to earn some money, which they did by holding multiple jobs. Housework, moreover, requires some reproductive capital: furniture, utensils, clothing, money for food. But waged workers lived poorly, slaving away by day and night, just to stave off hunger and feed their wives and children. Most barely had a roof over their heads, living in huts where other families and animals also resided, and where hygiene, poorly observed even among the better off, was totally lacking. Their clothes were rags, their diet at best consisted of bread, cheese, and some vegetables. Thus, we do not find in this period among the working class the classic figure of the full-time housewife. It was only in the 19th century, in response to the first intense cycle of struggle against industrial work, that the modern family, centered on the full-time housewife's unpaid reproductive labor, was generalized in the working class, in England first and later in the United States. Its development, following the passage of Factory Acts limiting the employment of women and children in the factories, reflected the first long-term investment the capitalist class made in the reproduction of the workforce beyond its numerical expansion. It was the result of a trade-off forged under the threat of insurrection between the granting of higher wages capable of supporting a non-working wife and the more intensive rates of exploitation. Marx spoke of it as a shift from absolute to relative surplus. That is, a shift from a type of exploitation based upon the lengthening of the working day to a maximum and the reduction of the wage to a minimum, to a regime where higher wages and shorter hours would be compensated with an increase in the productivity of work and the pace of production. From the capitalist perspective, it was a social revolution overriding a long held commitment to low wages. It resulted from a new deal between workers and employers, again founded on the exclusion of women from the wage, putting an end to their recruitment in the early phases of the Industrial Revolution. It was also the mark of a new capitalist affluence, the product of 2 centuries of exploitation of slave labor, soon to be boosted by a new phase of colonial expansion. In the 16th and 17th centuries, by contrast, despite an obsessive concern with the size of population and the number of working poor, the actual investment in the reproduction of the workforce was extremely low. Consequently, the bulk of the reproductive labor done by proletarian women was not for their families, but for the families of their employers or for the market. One third of the female population, on average, in England, Spain, France, and Italy, worked as maids. Thus, in the proletariat, the tendency was towards the postponement of marriage and the disintegration of the family. 16th century English villages experienced a yearly turnover of 50%. Often the poor were even forbidden to marry, even when it was feared that their children would fall on public relief. And when this actually happened, the children were taken away from them and farmed out to the parish to work. It is estimated that one third or more of the population of rural Europe remained single. In the towns, and the rates were even higher, especially among women. In Germany, 40% were either spinsters or widows. Nevertheless, though the housework done by proletarian women was reduced to a minimum and proletarian women had always to work for the market, within the working class community of the transition period, we already see the emergence of a sexual division of labor that was to become typical of the capitalist organization of work. As its center was an increasing differentiation between male and female labor, as the tasks performed by women and men became more diversified and above all became the carriers of different social relations. Impoverished and disempowered as they may be, male waged workers could still benefit from their wives' labor and wages, or they could buy the services of prostitutes. Throughout this first phase of proletarianization, it was the prostitute who often performed for male workers the functions of a wife, cooking and washing for them in addition to serving them sexually. Moreover, the criminalization of prostitution, which punished the woman but hardly touched her male customers, strengthened male power. Any man could now destroy a woman simply by declaring that she was a prostitute, or by publicizing that she had given in to his sexual desires. Women would have to plead with the men not to take away their honor, the only property left to them. The assumption being that their lives were now in the hands of men who, like feudal lords, could exercise over them a power of life and death. Next subsection, the taming of women and the redefinition of femininity and masculinity, women, the savages of Europe. It is not surprising then, in view of this devaluation of women's labor and social status, that the insubordination of women and the methods by which they could be tamed, quote unquote, were among the main themes in the literature and social policy of the transition. Women could not have been totally devalued as workers and deprived of autonomy with respect to men without being subjected to an intense process of social degradation. And indeed, throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, women lost ground in every area of social life. A key area of change in this respect was the law, where in this period we can observe a steady erosion of women's rights. One of the main rights that women lost was the right to conduct economic activities alone. In France, they lost the right to make contracts or to represent themselves in court, being declared legal imbeciles. In Italy, they began to appear less frequently in the courts to denounce abuses perpetrated against them. In Germany, when a middle class woman became a widow, it became customary to appoint a tutor to manage her affairs. German women were also forbidden to live alone or with other women, and in the case of the poor, even with their own families, since it was expected that they would not be properly controlled. In some, together with economic and social devaluation, women experienced a process of legal infantilization. Women's loss of social power was also expressed through a new sexual differentiation of space. In the Mediterranean countries, women were expelled not only from many wage jobs, but also from the streets, where an unaccompanied woman risked being subjected to ridicule or sexual assaults. In England, too, a women's paradise in the eyes of some Italian visitors, the presence of women in public began to be frowned upon. English women were discouraged from sitting in front of their homes or staying near their windows. They were also instructed not to spend time with their female friends. In this period, the term gossip began to acquire a disparaging connotation. It was even recommended that women should not visit their parents too often after marriage. How the new sexual division of labor reshaped male-female relations can be seen from the broad debate that was carried out in the learned and popular literature on the nature of female virtues and vices. One of the main avenues for the ideological redefinition of gender relations in the transition to capitalism. Known from an early phase as l'école de femmes, what transpires from this debate is a new sense of curiosity for the subject, indicating that old norms were breaking down and the public was becoming aware that the basic elements of sexual politics were being reconstructed. Two trends within this debate can be identified. On the one hand, new cultural canons were constructed, maximizing the differences between women and men and creating more feminine and more masculine prototypes. On the other hand, it was established that women were inherently inferior to men, excessively emotional and lusty, unable to govern themselves, and had to be placed under male control. As with the condemnation of witchcraft, consensus on this matter cut across religious and intellectual lines. From the pulpit or the written page, humanists, Protestant reformers, counter Reformation Catholics all cooperated in the vilification of women constantly and obsessively. Women were accused of being unreasonable, vain, wild, wasteful. Especially blamed was the female tongue, seen as an instrument of insubordination. But the main female villain was the disobedient wife, who, together with the scold, the witch, and the whore, was the favorite target of dramatists, popular writers, and moralists. In this sense, Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew, circa 1593, was the manifesto of the age. The punishment of female insubordination to patriarchal authority was called for and celebrated in the countless misogynist plays and tracts. English literature of the Elizabethan and Jacobean period feasted on such themes. Typical of this genre is John Ford's "'Tis a Pity She's a Whore," circa 1633, which ends with the didactic assassination, execution, and murder of three of the four female characters. Other classic works concerned with the disciplining of women are John Sweetman's "Arrangement of Lewd, Idle, Forward, Inconsistent Women," circa 1615, and "The Parliament of Women," circa 1646, a satire primarily addressed against middle-class women, which portrays them as busy making in order to gain supremacy over their husbands. Meanwhile, new laws and new forms of torture were introduced to control women's behavior in and out of the home, confirming that the literary denigration of women expressed a precise political project aiming to strip them of any autonomy and social power. In the Europe of the Age of Reason, the women accused of being scolds were muzzled like dogs and paraded in the streets. Prostitutes were whipped or caged and subjected to fake drownings, while capital punishment was established for women convicted of adultery. It is no exaggeration to say that women were treated with the same hostility and sense of estrangement accorded the quote unquote Indian savages in the literature that developed on this subject after the conquest. The parallel is not casual. In both cases, literary and cultural denigration was at the service of a project of expropriation. As we will see, the demonization of the American indigenous people served to justify their enslavement and the plunder of their resources. In Europe, the attack waged on women justified the appropriation of their labor by men and the criminalization of their control over reproduction. Always the price of resistance was extermination. None of the tactics deployed against European women and colonial subjects would have succeeded had they not been against European women and colonial. Oh, sorry. None of the tactics deployed against European women and colonial subjects would have succeeded had they not been sustained by a campaign of terror. In the case of European women, it was the witch hunt that played the main role in the construction of their new social function and the degradation of their social identity. The definition of women as demonic beings and the atrocious and humiliating practices to which so many of them were subjected left indelible marks in the collective female psyche and in women's sense of possibilities. From every viewpoint, socially, economically, culturally, politically, the witch hunt was a turning point in women's lives. It was the equivalent of the historic defeat to which Engels alludes to in his The Origin of the Family, Private Property, and the State circa 1884 as the cause of the downfall of the matriarchal world. For the witch hunt destroyed a whole world of female practices, collective relations, and systems of knowledge that had been in the foundation of women's power in pre capitalist Europe and the condition for their resistance in the struggle against feudalism. Out of this defeat, a new model of femininity emerged the ideal woman and wife, passive, obedient, thrifty, of a few words, always busy at work, and chaste. This change began at the end of the 17th century after women had been subjected for more than 2 centuries to state terrorism. Once women were defeated, the image of the femininity constructed in the transition was discarded as an unnecessary tool, and a new, tamed one took its place. While at the time of the witch hunt, women had been portrayed as savage beings, mentally weak, unsatiably lusty, rebellious, insubordinate, incapable of self control, by the 18th century, the canon had been reversed. Women were now depicted as passive, asexual beings, more obedient, more moral than men, capable of exerting a positive moral influence on them. Even their irrationality could now be valorized, as the Dutch philosopher Pierre Bayle realized in his Dictionnaire historique et critique, circa 1740, in which he praised the power of the female maternal instinct, arguing that it should be viewed as a truly providential device, ensuring that despite the disadvantages of childbirthing and child raising, women do continue to reproduce. And then we end it there. There.
Sorry,
Hello?
I'm sorry, I'm gobsmacked.
Oh,
Oh,
because we were just talking about this earlier, weren't we? About like
yeah,
the state terrorism against women. Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny that you said, because I read it last night. I was like, oh, you're going to like that part when we get into that part.
Well,
Because
like
we
is
were
a
just,
strong
because you started
word, but
talking about it. I
yeah,
was like, oh, well, it's a good time to talk about that then, I guess.
yep. It's like
But you
this
see
should
how it's
be
ramping up too? Like how it how with like the prostitution, like started with punishment for prostitutes was to literally strip them naked, throw them in a cage, and like fake give them lashes, and then pretend to drown them. Like that's like a
right.
witch thing, right? That became so it
Yeah,
sort of accumulated together and sort of like spawned a new sort of punishment for the witches and
yeah,
confessions. Yeah,
yeah. Oh my God. It's and before that, of course, like they had squeezed them out of wages, so then
yeah.
forced them into
They
prostitution in the
forced them,
first place.
and then they gave men the power to be their masters, which led them to take their rage pretty much and their frustrations out on women, right? Instead of insurrection against the
Right.
lords, right?
And
By
that
giving them
thing
that sort
about
of servitude from women.
right. It's a consolation prize,
Yeah, basically,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
And that's fucked up but because it goes so deep though, like that thing about women as the new commons, because like, woman as like the soil where the seed grows is like this
Yeah,
old
yeah.
mythological, like that
And that
goes
everything we do is
deep.
like literally a natural resource that could be freely exploited.
Right,
So
but
we're
so
like,
that go
and now
has
we're
it
linked to nature, right?
right, but so like that is symbolically, mythologically goes back to like the advent of agriculture. Like they're drawing on deep shit there. Like wow,
Yeah,
that's
and it worked
you're right.
because
Yeah,
like I said when we were in the beginning of this, there were like literally doctor females that were doctors.
yeah,
Like they were, it wasn't like this. This was planned and it was tactical kind of strategy
right.
from the capitalist perspective, right?
Right. Well, because it's like if they had patriarchy Mach 1, if you will, where it was like the ancient world, like the ancient Greeks were all about it, and the Romans loved that shit too.
Well, that's
And
how
then it was like,
civilization grows into like expand into an empire. Is that you need what's necessary to for that expansion into a city and city states is the subordination of women.
right, but so then there was a stabilization for like a while, you know?
Yeah,
And by the middle of the Middle Ages, yeah, you had women who were like people again.
yeah,
It's just this big up and down.
yeah. Well, because like
Ugh.
once an empire falls too, that sort of gets a little that gets smoothed over a little bit, right? Because then
Yeah,
it's sort of resets itself. But then once to gain power, you need to be able to have power over labor, which is like workers, which is like any population that's in your vicinity. You have to like subordinate women because you need the control and of like expansion of war and all that, and of like reproducing the workforce. So you have to subordinate women. That's why it grows in civilization. That's
yeah.
why there's always that's why in these empires, that's why you always find women's subordination. It's because it's necessary for that to exist.
Okay. I just so the Middle Ages were a hodgepodge patchwork of little states and shit, and that's
Yeah,
related to that, is what you're saying? Yeah.
yeah. And then it grew.
Yeah. The consolidation happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Is consolidation of power from in the capitalist perspective in that transitional period. Because like females were still subordinates, but they were subordinates as more of workers. Like,
Right.
right? And
Right.
any sort of like leftover misogynistic residue from like past, you know,
Yeah.
peoples and stuff like that were tempered by the fact that they had means to economically leave to support
Right.
themselves as a community and had redress in law. So
I
that was
don't need
taken
you. I
away.
can grow my own potatoes.
Yeah, right. Well, see,
Yeah.
in that part, yeah, you could grind your own potatoes, but guess who takes the credit and your wage for it? The man.
Well, right.
That's the point.
No, but I was talking a little earlier than that. They
Oh,
made
okay.
it so that you couldn't. They made it so that you couldn't say that anymore.
Yeah, basically. Because like, legal imbeciles, I like that. Like the
Yeah,
literal
that's
terminology was like
fun.
the literal terminology. We were legal imbeciles.
Well, I like the incremental and what's the word I'm looking? It was incremental. The
Yeah,
incrementalness, the incrementalism, anyway, of it, because
yeah.
obviously you're not going to foist all of that on one generation all at once.
No, yeah, it's accumulated in increments. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it sort of just kind of then when it starts to coalesce, it gets worse and worse and worse until all of a sudden you're at a point where you're burning them.
which brings me back to the whole question of like the slippery slope has been dismissed as a fallacy, and it's not, and I'm so
Well,
confused.
some can be dismissed as a fallacy, while others, I think, because fallacy doesn't always mean completely incorrect. It could be correct, but you can't just like make a theory and say that's a for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Like
this is an
that
example
is
of it,
sort of
though.
evidence
Like,
for something. It's helpful in arguments, but you have to have more context than just that,
right.
right?
And see,
Because
this
then
isn't
in
exactly a
regards to slippery
slippery
slope,
slope.
anything can be a slippery slope, which isn't
Okay, but
true.
so like this is orchestrated, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this was
So does it
orchestrated.
even qualify as that? Would be my
No, not
next
really.
question. Yeah.
That's
So
the thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I don't think it is a slippery slope. I think it was a planned, motivated transition that was planned by people who wanted more power. And we will get to that. Oh, we will get to that because we will go because once we hit the Next chapter, Caliban and the Witch. Like here, hold on.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to. I don't want to put off with my stuff to getting to the meat of the matter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's
Hold on. Where is the next chapter? I want to show you. You'll see when I'll read it out to you.
so now I'm conflicted. I suppose. I mean, I could just. I don't know. Now that you've
Yeah, the
said you
great
would mind,
Caliban, the struggle against the rebel body, and then is when we really get into.
but
Hold
like
on.
now that you've said you wouldn't mind hanging out with me while I read it, I don't want to sit and do it by myself.
Okay. Yeah, no, totally. See
That's
that when we
especially
get to the
since you've
next
already
chapter of
read
that,
it, so I don't. Okay.
if we get to the next chapter, that is the Great Witch Hunt in Europe, and then that's when we really get into the meat of it. But
Thank
that's
you,
going to
honey.
be at the end area. So like witch burning times and this state initiative. We have
I'll get it in a minute. Thank you, honey.
devil beliefs and changes in the mode of production. So that's when we really get into the meat of it. Witch hunting and class revolts. Witch hunting, women hating, and women hunting and the accumulation of labor. So like it really delves more deep into it. And then we got some really cool photographs. I'll show you a little bit.
Oh,
You can see that there with the devil and the
oh
women.
yeah.
Like we're
Oh
gonna really
wow,
get into
yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So we were getting into the devil worshipping soon. Like this one's funny with the devil on her shoulder. And these are all like actual like paintings and tapestries and wood cuttings from the time, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're media, right?
Yeah, this is their media, their propaganda.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Okay. So I mean, I just want to make a plan. I hate to ask you like how many weeks in advance, but
yeah,
I
it's
want to
still
make
going
a
to be a long
plan.
time. Like I said, we're not even halfway finished.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's okay
Right.
if we take a break. It's I don't think that's.
Okay. Okay.
But I would like to just finish this actual chapter first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then that'll be a nice appropriate break, I think, because then the next one will be like that one long chapter without any sub breaks. So that's going to be a long one.
Well, you're gonna have to break it up anyways, right? I mean, you're for
No, I plan on
yourself.
doing that one because it is a
Oh,
smaller
okay.
chapter, but
Okay.
there's no subtract. So I'm just going to do that whole thing and hopefully get through it. But that will be
Okay.
after your book.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds like a plan. So 2 more weeks of this, or one more?
2 more. Wait. No, now just one more. Yeah, one
Okay,
more.
which is actually
Because
two
this was like,
weeks.
yeah, 2 weeks. We already finished that one. There's only one more to do. And then I think, yeah.
Okay, so one more session, which is 2 more weeks, which puts me reading out a month. Oh yeah, the kids will definitely be out of school by then.
Yeah.
So, which is actually fine. I can just let them know, hey, I'm going to be doing blah. Get yourselves lunch,
Yeah. You take
And
care of
that just means
yourself
I
for a
don't.
bit.
Right, that just means I don't have to run away at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that actually works out. I don't know how yours is during the day. Is he going to be home with you, or
It'll
I
be
don't. I don't
fine.
know how.
He's old enough to like take care of himself for
Okay.
a period of time because
Okay.
he's in high school. So
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought he was like 12.
no. High
Okay.
school starts at 12, 13. We don't
Oh,
have
that's right.
middle
Y'all
grade.
don't
We
have
don't have
middle
middle school.
school.
That's right.
Okay. 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 But
But
anyways,
that's
yeah,
okay.
that's
No,
still
he's
old
good.
enough to like
He's
get his own bowl of
self-sufficient enough
cereal
to
or
know to
whatever.
take care of
Okay.
himself.
Okay. My 7-year-old does not think he is. He's the baby of the family and does not want to do a dang thing for himself. It's so terrible.
Yeah. I can't remember how
Oh,
he
hey,
was.
Joe. Well, I look forward to more of your other
Hey.
content as I cannot keep up with books online. Yeah, right on. Oh my gosh. That's great. So it's nice to hear that other people are enjoying this because again, enjoy is the wrong word, but I'm riveted.
Yeah. I think it's important to understand history of women.
Yeah.
So, especially
Especially
the
if it sounds
similarities
like
that are
like
happening nowadays in
wait,
comparison to what happened then.
we can just expect more of this. That's what I was going to be saying. Like the bullet points from this book ought to be like required reading for everyone with the 2X chromosomes. I don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like the similarities are eerily
Yeah.
like similar, I guess.
Right. It's eerily accurate. Yeah. And
Yeah.
just so, and it might not be us, it might be our granddaughters, but like still,
That does, yeah, I still want to leave them that as an
that
inheritance.
doesn't make that, that doesn't make that not concerning. That doesn't make that like not a big
Especially when you have
deal.
especially when you have children. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And again, like even if, I really childless people who like just nope out of conversations like that. I'm sorry. Do you not give a fuck about the future of humankind? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Ah,
I do almost like at times feel guilty. I'm like, shit, what kind of like world am I leaving you to?
well, yeah, but like, I mean,
Well, it's a little too
are we
late
gonna?
now.
Well, right, right, right. But also,
You
I mean, just
exist, so
ethically, are we just gonna wish ourselves out of existence, or are we gonna try and clean up our mess?
right. Well, I
Right.
don't wish
Okay. And
out
I,
existence, but so all you got left to do is just fight. I guess
right,
fight
right,
back, try to
right. And
take.
I
I don't
just
know.
try. I try
What else are you
to,
gonna do? Right? Just
put
lie down and take it. I don't like that aspect.
no, right, exactly. So we have to try and make a better future, and raising good kids is a good way to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have
Yeah.
them and don't want them, don't have them. I'm not going to say that. I'm not one of those like pronatalist people who's they're insane. But
Yeah, pronatalist. Oh yeah, no, no, totally no. You. That's like a
on the other
traffic.
hand, right, on the other hand, parenting is an important job. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Exactly. Job is important work.
that someone needs
If
to
we
do.
learned anything today, important
You're
work,
right.
like
You're right. You're
reproduction of
right.
labor.
Exactly. Exactly. They can't do anything without us, and I think that
Yeah,
God,
that was one of the
obviously,
greatest, like, I think propaganda campaigns that they issued was the fact of visibilizing women's work as natural, of
making it
servitude
look
as being a
like
natural resource
and to like
that could be
reverse,
exploited.
yeah, and to like reverse that whole thing of where we can't do anything without them,
Yeah,
that we are nothing without them. It's so, oh my
when
gosh,
it's totally the opposite, and then it's just
yeah,
exploitation.
right.
And this is why when you say, well, what do you think about, you know, other people that don't really take women's uh class as seriously as economic class? I'm like, well, I have no fucking reason to even try with those people, because if you're not going to look at that, women as a class, then
Right.
then you are going to continue to be exploitative, like just like the state is, just like
Well, see, that's,
capitalism is. So and so there's no point, because it's self-defeating, right?
yeah, right, right, right. I get you now. And so,
So yeah, now you get me.
it's just like they were destroying women's class consciousness bit by
Yeah.
bit. Like that's what they were doing.
Oh yeah.
And like that thing about the burnings destroying women's culture. I forget exactly how it was put, but like
Yeah,
you just
the culture,
named,
socially, politically, culturally, like everything,
like
economically.
you just put a label on a hole in my soul. Like
Yeah.
wow. Uh,
Yeah, it's a heavy one, but like I said, necessary, and that's why I'm here. I think it's
yes, thank
necessary.
you.
When I
Yes,
read that,
thank you.
when I first read this book, it blew my mind. I was
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
because it was one of the first sort of feminist text I read was this one.
Mm.
Maybe that's why it's so close to my heart, but I just think that it gives a good sort of understanding and a base to jump off of.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to get an understanding of women's history in the terms of capitalism, the beginnings of its inception.
Well, and it's how did we get here? You know.
Well, yeah, which is necessary to know, so we can regain the lost knowledge that we had.
Oh my God. I am, that's one of the things that makes me cry sometimes. I'm serious. Like I think about like there's no way to do that.
Yeah,
There's no way to do that. That's just gone.
yeah. But I am interested in finding out about that book of John Riddle's, I think, the guy
Right.
that did the history of birth control remedies and herbs and all that,
Right.
and what
Eve's
they used to be,
herbs.
what they used to be for, because I think that's a really important knowledge actually to have,
Yeah, yeah.
like how,
Eve's herbs was the name of that one, right?
yeah, something like that. I can
Because I
take a look.
caught the title, but not the author, and you caught the author and not the title. That's funny.
Yeah, right. I can just hold on. I'm just gonna find it here because I'm curious.
I
Yeah,
left my
Eve's
notebook in
Herbs.
the other room.
Yeah, it's Eve's Herbs: A History of Contraception in the West by John Riddle.
I might have some hope of remembering that last name.
Yeah,
It's like Tom Riddle. So help me God.
I know that's a nice name.
I am. Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the Harry Potter thing because on the one hand, good for you for the ubiquity, author dreams. On the other hand, get the fuck out of my head.
Right.
I have never read those books. I don't. Why do I know? Why I? Whoa.
I know they're fucking popular. I've never read a
Right.
single Harry Potter or seen a single Harry
What?
Potter movie
Well, see,
myself.
I broke down and watched the movies about 10 years ago because I wanted to be able to participate in conversations. That was
Maybe
it.
there's me who's just like, fuck that. I'm not having a conversation about Harry
Right, right,
Potter.
right, right,
I
right.
will
But
be
again,
alone.
I have always, existed among a bunch of like geeky and creative type people.
Yeah.
So I'm the one person in the room that doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be 30 people. Okay.
Oh, I know, right? It's
Oh my
crazy.
God.
I
Yeah.
never
And
I
like I
never
say,
got I never got it. I never understood the like it just does not appeal to me.
no, that's what I'm saying. So on the one hand, I'm like, I do not get it. And then on the other hand, I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
It's nice
Or
to
like
know it
maybe
can
you're
be
thinking about
done.
like what you're missing out, like what are people seeing? You have to know what they're seeing.
I too weird. I never worry about that. What are they
Okay,
seeing?
because
I'm
I never
not gonna
worried about
find
that
it.
either, but I could see that being like a thing why
Yeah,
people would try. I never
yeah,
even I
yeah.
never even tried. I was like, nah,
No,
I'm good.
I'm too contrarian. I'm like, that's dumb. I'm gonna go do this. Like,
Yeah, right? Yeah. Do something else like productive. It's not for me. I'm not
you
the type,
know,
so that
I've
makes
never been
sense.
a big fiction person, which is why every time I bring that up, I'm writing a novel. So it's like, what am I
I know
doing?
that's hilarious. Why can't you do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, but the reason that I've never been a big fiction person is because I have felt this impulse to like guard my mind, if that makes sense. Like I've always had a tendency to get a little lost in fiction if I enjoy it too much. You know what I mean? So I just,
Yeah, I used to read like when I was a lot younger in my early 20s. I used to like read a lot of fiction.
mhm.
Like I would read like a novel in one day. I'd stay up all night reading.
You're right. Wow, yeah,
Yeah,
and it
I
sort
would
of
do that.
sucks you in,
I will do that
right?
for fictional works. I will do that for not sorry, fictional, non-fictional works.
Right, because if it's
It's
gonna,
really compelling, and if I'm
right,
learning a lot, I just whiz through that shit. Like I'm just like a little sponge sucking up all the knowledge because I'm like, no way.
right, yeah. Oh my gosh, but like with the fiction stuff, if it's gonna suck you in like that, it might as well. Like it doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't give you, I don't know, escapism, which is great and all, but
Yeah, that's the thing. It's one thing. Yeah, that's my thing. Is I like the escapism. I don't
so
understand that. There's enough going on in the world that should keep
right.
you interested.
Well, so that's what so the power of narrative has always been a big deal to me, I guess is what I'm saying, and that's why I'm writing a novel, and it's a
Yeah,
trick because it's going to be like escapism and then you're also going to learn stuff without realizing it. So
that's the
that's
one thing that I go in, if I was going into a fictional work, I would want. I
yeah.
want there to be like a purpose of it. That's not
Hmm.
just escapism, but more of an allegory to real life kind of a thing.
Right. No, my ultimate goal is perspective shift.
Yeah.
Like full on. That's my ideal perfect goal is that you come away from the whole story with a completely different perspective. You look
Yeah.
up from it and go, "Oh shit." Like
And there's stories that do that, I find. There are stories that do that. I find Patton's Labyrinth, one of them.
yep.
And
Yep.
Ergo Proxy, I'm gonna have to bring that up again.
Oh,
Like
right. Okay. Yeah.
so yeah, so they do exist. But
Yeah.
I don't even know if I've had that experience in a literary work. I don't think I have, which
Right.
is interesting.
Yeah. And that's what I'm going for. I know it can be done. It's something
Yeah.
that takes time, though, and I
I'm
am
pretty sure there's
impatient.
works
So
out there
that's
that I would find that to be the case, that there it is transformative almost, but I just haven't read a lot of like enough fiction for that to
Right. See,
probably,
that's what I'm saying. It sucks me in, and I just have like this really imaginative imagination, a really vivid imagination. So it sucks me in, and like, so I get sucked in before I realize if it's any good or not.
Mhm.
So I just don't
Yeah,
bother. You know.
yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
No, and
I mean, I
Harry
don't
Potter
mind
is one of
fiction.
those.
I don't mind fiction. It's just that there's just a
Well,
lot
yeah.
out there too that I'm like, I want to. I just that takes my attention more. Like
Hmm.
I said, I still have to read that Wild Politics book. I'm really interested in that. I also really want to read Techno Feudalism, which is more present
Mm.
take of what's happening right now,
Gee,
politically,
yeah.
globally.
Right.
So there's like just works that I think that come before, like a lot of like trying to find something in fiction that I don't even know exists. So
Right.
it'll be great because I can
Yeah.
read your book instead, and then
Ah,
even
yeah, that works out.
so exactly.
Oh boy. And this is actually the easy part. That's the terrifying thing. Is like the entire third book needs to be written.
Yeah.
Oh, you say yeah, like you've seen it. Like you have no idea. Like,
I know. That's why my yeah states like I have no idea. I'm like, yeah, I cannot even imagine because I
oh
can't
my
because I don't
god.
have the
Oh my
imagination
god.
to do that.
It exists though. To be rewritten. So that's
Yeah, I have
a
no clue.
big a big leg up because you can adjust a thing that exists.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot easier than fabricating shit in the first place.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I couldn't even imagine fabricating a story. I could never do it.
Oh,
I can't even fathom that. I don't have
oh,
that sort of like creating something out of nothing kind of like
oh my
brain.
god! I took the entire last 60 years and telescoped them down to 20 because I am an asshole.
Fuck.
So now I get to go back and untangle that. It's going to be super.
Oh,
And at
yeah.
this rate, it's not going to happen until at least next year. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially when you're like with such a big body of work, having to like go over it again and again and retweak. Even that's got to be what's the word I'm looking for? Um, not tedious. I'd say
Hmm. See,
having
when
to
it
keep
gets
tweaking, finding
tedious,
things to tweak, and then like
when it gets
going back
tedious,
and
I
get
move
tweaking
on.
them more. Like, oh no, not for
That's one of the
me. I
nice
can't.
things about it being as big as it is. And when it gets tedious, I move on
So I guess that works.
to another spot, to another thing. I can always go find something else to do. Um, but like, oh god, yeah, no, so you were talking about the interiority, right?
Yeah,
And I've been doing a lot of mulling over of that, and that's how I started getting into like draft three
yeah,
of part one because I'm starting to get like ideas for that and like try and massage that in and like, oh, I could put this here and I could do that there. And I went back yesterday to one of the Christmas scenes and
yeah,
I found myself searching for just the right old hymn with just the right lyrics, and I'm like, this is going to take forever.
yeah.
This is draft this is
Yeah,
draft
see, that's
three.
tedious to me. I couldn't. Oh, I'd be like, well,
This is
fuck.
draft three. This is draft three. It must be because this is going to take forever, and this is supposed to be done. I'm supposed to be moving on now. No, no, like no, no.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that would be so just like frustrating to me.
So I think a lot of that level of interiority is just going to be draft three,
Yeah.
and that's just how that is. Sorry.
That's fine. I'm curious to see where you changed
Uh,
it though. I am. I'm really curious. Like,
oh, I'm sure you'll spot it because it was a moment that was supposed to have an impact. It didn't have an impact, and I thought, hmm,
I think
I
I've
must.
already. I'm not gonna say what, but I think I already know what you're talking about. What part?
Yeah, I'm just going to have to make this weirder. That's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that
No,
I
no, no,
didn't get
no.
the impact that you wanted.
No, no, it's okay because they just like I don't know. Apparently, people do that stuff. It's fine.
I think I know exactly where you're talking about too.
Yeah, I hate to give it away. I'm so sorry.
No,
Oh,
that's okay because like
I
I caught
can't.
onto it right away. I'm like, I know what you're talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
Well,
I
it's like
did read it and then gave you the suggestions. I know what my own suggestions were, so that's kind of
yeah.
I had a
Well,
cheat.
and right, you have the crib sheet, but like a friend of mine was brainstorming with me about it, and he was actually the one that gave me the specific of, oh, I can have her do that. Okay. She
Yeah.
was the one that gave me the specific idea. So,
Ah.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Curious and
Ah,
curiouser.
yeah. But now this time, so now after well, right now I have to fabricate an entire scene from scratch. That's her alone in a room.
Yeah.
And we're gonna want some interiority for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you're going to redo that scene or that part
Hmm.
because I know what
It's
part you're talking about now. That was, but
I
it's
hope it's
true.
yeah, yeah. It's fine. I
I'm sorry. Just,
no,
but
no, no.
you want
I'm
to know.
just
You want to know because I don't have the impact, then other people might not see it either.
yeah, right. Exactly, exactly. And this
So
is like
it's good to know that beforehand, right? It's always good to. That's why it's always good to have a
right.
beta reader.
Yes. And now it's direct foreshadowing for a confrontation that happens later.
Ooh.
And it's one of the oh god. I don't know. Ah, the setup is driving me crazy. I need to go and work on this right now, and I can't. So
You can't. Why not?
well, because A, I'm talking to you and that would be rude.
Oh.
And B, I'm just gonna have to go pick him up in an hour and a half anyways, and an hour and a half is just long enough to sit down and get my shit together and get in the zone, and then I'll have to leave.
Yeah.
So, you know. And you know, oh, people don't understand that, right?
Yeah.
Where if you're doing something creative, it's like, no, no, I need the block of like 4 hours.
Hmm.
Or there's or I almost might not bother.
Yeah. Yeah. Need
It's
the
just so
space to do your
horrible.
thing. Yeah, that's. I know
Because
that
you
is
have to
because a
get
lot of the work I do is like inside my house, and
mm,
so I'll have my mom sort of watch him so that I can have my alone time. It's not so bad now because he's older,
hmm.
but I can totally see where like, yeah,
It's like you have to get in a certain frame of mind in order to like
yeah,
I mean, like for writing a novel, you're trying to take on a character's voice. You know what I mean? You can't just sit down and write about your day. Like that's not.
yeah. Well, like even if not even with story, that like story work. If you're working from home,
Hmm.
something important you need the quiet.
Boundaries. You have to
Yeah,
have set up some boundaries. Yeah.
like
Otherwise,
I'm
it's just
lucky that I
all.
have my own workshop that to work in.
Oh yeah, that is nice.
So yeah, because like when trying to like get shit done in my old place, it was too small. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, she's not here right now, but like next week, I won't get. Next time, I won't be able to stay in here because she'll be back.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. I understand the small space. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, no, I know. Yeah.
Ah.
See, that's why I like being alone too. Like I I can think freely. So I love my space alone. I love my time alone too.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm a hermit.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
can I say?
And yeah, I struggle with the urge to just go away. Like.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Totally get that. Like this is why I another why I'm like relationships. Fuck no. Like I can
Oh my
barely.
god. Well,
I
see,
don't want
it's.
anyone near me. I don't want to be like I don't want to have to like you know um be constant. Someone there constant. That I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could
and I
always
have.
just.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say you might end up finding somebody who doesn't want to be around other people either, and then you could just sit in
But I
separate
still would have to be
corners.
around them.
You might.
It doesn't really matter if they like their own time. Then they probably will not get together
Ah,
because we're both like we don't
mm,
like you. We don't want to be around each other.
that's true. I just think a lot of marriages end up that way anyway.
Well, I mean,
Oh my god.
yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I want to be the crazy cat lady. Okay, that's my goal. That's my goals in life. That's real goals. I want a lot of cats, and I want to be alone.
And maybe turn into one day.
Yeah.
A
Well,
cat.
I'm
A
open.
cat. I mean,
Oh, a
to be a
cat. Yeah.
cat.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
That would be just heavenly. But no.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I just nah. I don't want no. I like my alone time. I like being alone. I like it. Like, I enjoy my time. I enjoy my company. I enjoy myself.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't
No, I
get
do
it. I don't
too.
get the
I
whole.
do too. It's a constant. I have. I don't know. I don't think it's good for me. Maybe I don't know
Really? I think
because
it's
okay,
splendid.
like excessive amounts of it, I get weird. I don't know. I stop talking. I don't know. It's not. That's not the point.
Well, I mean, I still talk to people, but on my terms. I don't have to, and it's
Yeah.
not constant. It's not having to be, like, constantly aware of the other person and having to like confer to them,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? About
Mhm.
everything,
Yeah.
because that's what you have to do in a relationship. I don't like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I like having that control. I don't like have to like worry about anyone, or like I can, I just better on my own. I don't know. I'm a spinster.
Wear it with pride.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I've been in relationships before, like back in the day. Obviously, I have a kid, obviously. So,
Right. Yeah.
but like, yeah, and I've seen this with my friends too. I think a lot of the times people are just scared to be by themselves
Mm.
when it comes for women, anyways. So they
Well,
latch
that's
on to things that aren't healthy. They become mentally sort of bogged down by that, and they can't see
yeah.
past that. And if you would just like step away from that, you can find yourself, find who you are, who like what you're all about, and be comfortable with that. You don't want to
Yeah.
go back.
That makes me
Like,
so
it's much better
sad.
over here than over there.
Right. No, the ones that don't know themselves at all make me so sad.
No, it makes me really sad too, because there's lots of shit that I've had with my girlfriends that I've known forever since like school days, and
Right.
I'm just like, why do you put up with this shit? You were
Mm.
so unhappy. Like, it's not that scary to be alone. Be alone. If you want to go
Yeah.
back when you're healthy, then that's fine. If you want to start a relationship, but like, at least go try being alone. It's not that scary. You might like it even more than the alternative. So, like, there's nothing wrong with being by yourself.
No.
So, I don't know. I don't even
I'm
know how to
sorry.
get into this.
I feel like
I
I
don't
should
even know how we
argue
got
with
talking about this.
you. I feel like I should argue with you, but I have no argument to make. So. Mm.
Why do you feel like you have to argue with me?
Because you're coming on so strong, I feel like I should play devil's advocate, and I just don't have it.
Because I'm making such good damn points.
Well, I can't also sit here and go, "Yeah, we should be alone," because I live with
Yeah,
5 other
well,
people.
no, I meant for women who are in these sort of positions where
Yes.
they're getting fucked around, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the women that are constantly getting fucked around, who are not happy, who are depressed, who have to constantly are getting degraded and belittled and treated
Right.
unfairly and unequally, which is going to happen for the most part, for the majority of the part, because of the culture we live in is going to have already normalized it. So
That's
why
what
put
I was
yourself in
gonna
that shit?
say. That's why they do it
Yeah,
because it's normal to them.
I know. And that's why I'm here to tell all the girlies, fuck that shit. Like, just
Right?
fuck that
Oh
shit.
my
You don't need that
gosh.
shit. Why you take that shit? Because like it's just self-deprecating, really. At a point,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you're
Mhm.
never going to be happy that way.
It's flagellation. It's like who
Yeah,
can be the purest?
yeah. You think you're
Yeah.
going to be happy being in a subordinate position? Well, that's what's going to be if you're going to be with a man, most likely,
Well,
because
self
it's
denial
normalized to
is.
be the subordinate. So if you want to be happy, you want to have self-confidence, you want to be secure, you know who you are, you're going to have to be alone, because you're not going to find
Mhm.
that in a position where there's a power dynamic involved, and then
Mm.
you're like the bottom of that power dynamic, right?
Right. Mhm. Mm. I have thoughts on that, but you know.
What thoughts?
Because, well, I mean, it becomes very dicey when you don't have a bad relationship with the man in question.
Well, if you don't have a bad relationship, that's fine. I know.
Okay,
Okay,
but the power
I know one.
dynamics.
I know one woman whose relationship is actually pretty fucking sturdy and safe. He's a good guy, and I will vouch for that. So I'm not
Right,
saying for
this,
those women, but for the majority, especially when I'm looking at the people that I know, the majority on the whole, mostly is not good.
I'm
Mostly
not,
is not
I'm
good.
not, I'm not sitting here saying not my Nigel or anything like that, or talking about the exceptions.
You're like,
What I'm
don't
saying
confuse me.
is, what I'm
But like,
saying is that those power dynamics still exist
well, exactly. And the thing
and are
the
still
times
a
they do
part.
exist. I see it all the time with my friends who are in relationships. All the
Mhm.
time. And I'm like, why? If that's how the relationship's gonna be, why put yourself through that shit?
Right. Well, and this is where it starts to get unpopular in feminist circles, where because there is a men have their own propaganda that they have been subjected to,
Yeah. Well,
that a
that's
lot
why
of
you
them
should.
behave that way.
Yeah, I know. Do you
So
think it's going to change though if you're going to stick
no,
with him and play that role? Because well, while you're with him, if he hasn't gotten his shit together or
right.
has
So
been completely propagandized, he's not going to change.
that's what I'm saying is that
Yeah,
A, you have to find somebody who maybe isn't completely propagandized, and B, you have to refuse in those a lot of moments to play that role.
and
And
then
it's very
leave.
confusing to them. Well, no,
Yeah,
and that's very confusing. Where you just have to say, no, I'm not going. No, this is not going to go this way
yeah,
because, and then not. But so then if you okay, so then if you don't say, it has to be like they expect it to be a total power move. Is it expected to be a total power move? And I've had this conversation with people about, oh, okay, well, when are you leaving? Like, it's not like that.
yeah.
It's just not going to go that way. Okay, like we're not getting divorced. It's just we got to work through this knot. We got to untie this knot. It's just not going to go that way.
What do you mean by divorce? I'm talking about just being at the first inkling of it, you leave. So by then, you shouldn't even be married.
Oh, okay.
If you've already gotten
Well,
married to
I'm
somebody.
talking from my own perspective here.
Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about. I don't know your relationship. I don't know how the dynamic is.
No,
So
I
it
know,
could
and
go
that's
very
all I
well
have.
good for all I know. So I'm just talking about
Well,
on the general whole.
mhm.
Yeah, because and the women that I see that they are stay in relationships that are just completely toxic and harmful. So,
I guess I can't speak to that because I don't get that at all. I don't. I
well,
don't.
there you
I'm not.
go,
I'm not.
right?
Mm.
Because
And I
like I
hesitate
said
to sit
before, out of
here.
all the women that I know, I literally only know one healthy relationship.
Mm,
One out of all the relationships that I know personally, like in real life. Like I
yeah,
don't know your relationship personally, even though I know you.
right.
It's still
And I'm not
in
going to
my
say that.
still, but like,
Right.
but
Yeah.
from just seeing it, yeah, I'm just like, why? And it gets to a point where the older you get, and the more you go through it, the worse off your mental stability, your mental state is, because
That's
you're
true.
subjected all the time to that shit.
Right.
It's sad. It's sad to see.
Yeah.
I wish I could give them a piece of my happiness because I'm happy, I'm comfortable, and if I could just do that, maybe they would like wisen up and like give respect themselves and have a little bit more, give themselves some more autonomy because
Right.
because they just they give away their autonomy when
I
they stay in
swear they need to
relationships.
just get in touch with themselves to begin with. Like,
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
what do I
completely down.
want? Who am I? Like, they just don't even ask themselves these things, I
Well,
don't
no,
think.
because they're scared of
Yeah.
that. They're scared of like not liking the person they are. But if you don't like the person you are, you can change it by then, and you'll have the clarity too, because you don't have some fucking dick in your ear yapping at you about how inferior you are in certain passive aggressive ways.
Wow. It hadn't occurred to me that they're afraid they won't like themselves. Who likes themselves? Like, what?
I like me.
You know what I mean, though. But like, generally speaking, most people have that's, I don't know. You probably already don't like yourself if you're in that situation. Like, I don't know. I'm
Well,
sorry
yeah,
that
that's
that
what I mean.
strikes
That's
me
why
as
I wish they
weird.
would leave, and then maybe they would stop hating themselves so much.
Right. Oh my gosh.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah. But mm, I'm glad neither of us is in a situation like
Oh yeah, I
that.
know. I know. I okay. I won't say the person's name,
Hmm.
but I will. One of my one of the female friends I have that I know that I work that is feminist space, right? In real
Hmm.
life that I'm
Hmm.
speaking. She was with a guy for the longest time. Seemed like a perfectly he knew all about her, like her, feminist sort of perspective and her all the things that she was doing in terms of that.
Hmm.
And when she would come to our group meetings and stuff, she would always like call him and talk to him about just to catch up, right? Not even just catch up, but just to sort of like touch base, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And like it'd be like, oh, okay. And if he didn't want something to happen, like she would be like, oh, no, no, no. And there wasn't like he wasn't aggressive or anything like that. Seemed perfectly fine, but she did always have to sort of confer with him. And then recently, what ended up happening, he goes to her and tells her he's trans after years of living together, years and years and years. He basically doesn't know anything else
Oh my god.
and left her.
Oh my god.
And he knew that she was a radical feminist. TERF. She's been kicked out of her women's group and like for this shit. Like an actual like, activist and well-known TERF shit. And he pulls this shit.
Oh my god.
Like,
And it's
yeah,
been brewing in the background for some time, obviously. So
yeah, but she was blindsided by this, which is
right, no,
like,
but he betrayed her, is what I'm saying. He could have
no,
said
I know.
something at
Like,
some
well,
point.
he probably got the idea from her. Like the knowledge, because she's been at this for a while, long time too.
Oh my god,
Just as long as I have, and
that's
we've been doing,
weird. That
and
hadn't even occurred to me. You could bring the contagion home in that way. That's weird.
yeah, right. Oh,
Oy,
so
that's
like,
creepy.
yeah, you never know. These power
No,
dynamics
that's
can like come out in weird, fucked up ways.
right. No, they do come out in weird ways, and I could one of these days maybe I'll write a book because I feel like that's just such an underserved market of straight women who have to deal with this shit in weird ways. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it needs dealt with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, no.
Oh,
So if in that position, oh, it's a deal breaker. If some guy knew what I was doing for that long in her
oh
position,
no, that
yeah.
would be that would be.
Can
I'm
you
talking
imagine?
smaller stuff.
I would kill. I
No,
would
but it comes out in
kill.
smaller ways too. It comes out in smaller ways
Yeah,
too.
some smaller ways that are toxic, yeah. And those ones don't need
Right.
to be thrown, like throw the bath
Re-
tub with the bath water kind of a thing. You don't need to throw
exactly.
that all the way. But like, yeah, there's sometimes
Exactly.
you don't even know until like it blindsides you. But it
Yeah.
comes up. And
Yeah.
like, I don't think women know exactly how many men out there literally hate them for being women.
I
And it's
don't
not even
think.
conscious, I think, to the men. I
No,
think
right. That's what I
it's
was gonna say.
naturalized to them that it's a natural sort of
And
like
it's like they have this. It's this weird psycho thing where it's a weakness to them, their attraction to us, and then they like make that into some kind of resentment. I think where they
I
have to
think
be,
it's more just not in a attraction,
ugh,
more of an ownership. So it's not even attraction, it's just the idea of ownership, of sexual ownership. I don't even think, no, because attractive kind of is more something that compels you, like you feel like a drawn to it. Whereas for
right?
them, it's like ownership. It's like more like predator prey mentality.
Like inherently.
Not inherently, but naturalized to
Okay.
a point that it seems inherent to
Okay.
them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not going to say you're wrong there, but it's amazing how often you run into people who do believe that on both sides. You know.
That it's natural like that.
Yes.
I
And I
know. Even
literally,
even in radical feminist spaces, there's radical
yes,
feminists out there that are very what was it called?
misandrist.
Like some natural determinism or something.
Oh,
Biological
yeah.
determinism, that's the word. I don't
Right,
believe in
right, right.
biological determinism. I think that for the most part, science backs it up too, that it's nurture over nature. Because we're
Hmm.
thinking conscious beings that can change when we have more information. And we're constantly
Hmm.
evolving. To think
I
that
like
it's some sort of
that.
genetically inherent fucking
Then
that's just a way to dismiss behavioral changes that you don't want to behave or you don't want to
yeah.
change. It's
Hmm.
just an excuse. It's fucking an excuse because we have the intelligence to change the way we behave. We can like think. It's called having a thought.
Right. Right.
If
Right.
you have the intellect to change you have the intellect to change your behavior. Don't tell me that you can't, that it's like it's too natural. because it's
Have we
not.
come to another reason why I hate the Abrahamic God? Because he knows everything. So we live in a deterministic universe. So anything you do is irrelevant. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
Ah!
Yeah. Right.
It's a reminder.
That we don't have the it strips people away of their autonomy. Even when you think about it, we naturalize stripping
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And the chains of logic go some really scary places.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
God
No, I
knows
don't believe
everything,
men are
then
inherently biologically determined to behave this way. I think it's naturalized to a point that they don't realize that
uh
they are doing something that, because it's not like that it's inherent. It's more like they don't want to even conceive of it, so they ignore it. It's cognitive dissonance almost,
oh
right? And
yeah,
it's just a way for them
absolutely.
to excuse the behavior, so they don't have to worry about changing.
Yep. Well, and they
So that's what
benefit
I think
from
that
it,
is.
because who wants to give up power, I guess.
Because,
Ooh.
and another thing, I don't understand women who believe in that's the whole biological determined thing. Because I'm like, if that were the case, then the opposite is true, as in where women are inherently inferior. If you think that men are like inherently like this, you believe that also the flip side, because you have to. Because there's no like sense where women are somehow their behavior is based off of nurture, while men's are nature and biologically determined. No, you would have to be like human beings who Homo sapiens would have this biological determined behavior. So that
Yep.
includes women behavior being a subordination and
Yep.
inferior. So what the fuck? No. Do you believe that? No. I hope not, because then you're definitely not the feminist that I would conceive to be. Like, that makes no sense. That you and like people bring up testosterone. It's like, yeah, so what? That
I
makes
don't
you
know.
so they can't think. Are you
Like,
fucking stupid? Like, stop trying to make excuses for their behavior. That's just excusing it. They are intellectual beings who can definitely choose not to do things and not to do things and
well, and I'm
behave in certain
sorry.
ways and not to. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I hate
They
biological
they they
determinism.
they dug their own grave with that one, because you're really going to try and say that you created all of civilization and get to have all of the positions of authority, and then you're going to turn around and
Yeah,
say you can't control yourself? What?
yeah,
That
you're
doesn't
right.
work,
Yeah,
sir. No, I'm sorry.
yeah. Sorry, sir. That's just an asshole perspective.
Well, that's what they try to do. Men built
I know.
civilization, and I can't control myself.
Yeah, right. Right.
No,
What the
no,
fuck?
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's worse though when women do it. I find that just infuriating. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh
But
yeah, no, I'm
the
sorry. If
women that
I
are
heard a
trying to like
woman,
say, well, all men are inherently biologically,
right?
violent, and they're all this. I'm like, what are you doing? Because the flip side would then have to be true, like that we are hysterical, that we are
Hmm.
legal imbeciles, basically.
Right.
Because
Well, I guess.
because like if our behavior is fixed, which if you know anything about behaviorism, you know that it's not. But
Hmm.
if it is, then you're fucked because there's nothing you could do because the whole female category of Homo sapiens are going to be inferior and behave like in inferior ways because you think it's
Thank
determined.
you. Thank
You
you for
know?
the new angle on why misandry isn't feminism.
Yeah.
Because if they're stupid, then so are we. Yeah, basically.
Right. So like
Yeah.
that's why I don't get biological determinism. Um, Now I get accused of being almost like because I'm so like separatist mentality kind of almost because I'm by myself I guess, and I'm for women being by themselves as well, but I'm not really. It just to I don't have time to sit and like try to deconstruct and try to help men realize that they are choosing not to see it.
Yeah.
Women as a class, they're choosing that, and I don't have time for that. So I'm not going to waste my time with people that have already made that choice. If there wants to be sort of an alliance between that, say for because the class analysis is important, and knowing economic class is an important part of feminism. They have to at least be willing to be open as women for class, right? And then we'll talk. But until then, I have no
Hmm.
time for them because like they're choosing to ignore it. They're choosing to have their cake and eat it too. And if you're choosing that, then what am I going to be able to do to help break that down for you? You're not going to listen to me.
You're right.
So fuck that.
Oh, that women are a material class is so fucking obvious. I
Right?
can't.
Exactly. How obvious. It's so obvious. So the fact that they ignore it really shows their bias
Yeah.
and how desperate they are to cling on to their own sort of hierarchical authority over women. So if that's your mentality, then I have nothing to be in line with you with.
Yeah. Does that
So
happen a lot?
yeah. Well, that's what
Mm.
happened with the whole trans women. All the fucking supposedly leftist men with a class analysis chose to fucking, prop that shit up, which is obviously postmodern, like neoliberal bullshit.
Yeah. I'm
And
still
it's
trying to get.
not left at all. And they
No.
allowed themselves to, it allowed them to be even more misogynistic to women.
Hmm.
So they
There's
colluded with
always
the
that
class that
consolation
wants to
prize.
oppress people, and you colluded with them. So you're like, fuck off. But you know what? There are men who don't believe that, but you don't hear about them a lot because they don't get the sort of the platforms.
Right.
The only ones that are like sort of aligned that get platforms that are men are the ones that are conservative who only align to a certain point because they want women as private commodity for consumption in the private home. Whereas the other men who claim to be leftists want women as a commodity in the public sphere.
Hmm.
But either way, both of those groups see women as their property, whether public or private. No,
Yep.
women are people, not property. Fuck off.
Yep.
So, and there are men who understand this, but yeah, you never hear from them because they don't get platformed because it doesn't align with the sort of overall capitalist culture, right? They're not going to get
Yeah.
platformed because it would be counterintuitive to let those people have platforms.
Oh my goodness, what would you even categorize them under? If it's not right or left, what is it? Oh my god.
Well, because they
I'm
are
just
left,
saying,
but
I
the
know.
left that
But
claims to be left are not left. If they
I
are
know, but
pro status quo, that means they're right wing. That's
I was
why
being a
liberals are
little
right wing, because it is pro status quo, just like conservatism is.
I was being a little facetious. I was just saying the media dude is gonna say, I don't even know where to
Oh,
put this.
okay, sorry. I was on a roll.
I know, I'm sorry.
You get me going, and
It's fantastic.
then yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, that I do that.
No, and I feel so bad butting in, but I just
No. It's okay. Like you need to, because I could go on forever. Like you said, we need to have a rant day where we
hmm
pick certain topics to rant about. So, like, because
Well, let's
there's
see.
so much to rant about.
We can do that after I read the book or after we finish Caliban or somewhere the next time we need a break from Caliban, maybe.
Yeah, we can do that whenever. Like I said, I'm not hard lined on when, what time, how
Mhm.
long things need to be done by. So
If it's
I'm
during the
fluid.
summer, we could do it later in the day if you want.
Yeah,
Because,
we
like
can
I
do it
say,
later in the day, and I don't have to wake up really.
right, because they'll
For
be
me,
home all
anyways. Again,
day
for me.
anyways. And I just have my free time's limited until 3 p.m. EST during the school
Yeah,
year is all. So, but yeah, we could do evenings or something if you wanted during the summer, and change it up a little
yeah.
bit. That'd
No,
be fine.
totally. Whatever works for you. I'm pretty flexible that way because, like I said, I
We
work
should
from home.
probably keep it Wednesdays just because my memory, oh my God.
Okay, we can keep it Wednesday for your memory.
Actually, I'm legit about to go have my thyroid checked. I'm not even joking.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So next month I might show up and be super perky. I don't know. If it turns out
Right?
it's that, I'm gonna get on hormones and all of a sudden be a full-fledged human being. It might be exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can possibly I don't know, start ranting even more than me.
Well,
You
I
have
might
all this
actually
energy.
have enough short-term memory to hold 10 whole minutes at a go in my mind at once.
Whoa.
Ooh. Because I don't
Excuse
even
me.
want to tell you how often it happens that you'll be saying something and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's like, what was I
And
going to
then,
say? Oh my God. Like,
no, my goodness.
I'll have a thought while you're talking, and then as soon as I open my mouth, it disappears.
That just also just might be old age. I know I do that sometimes. I'll start going, and then I'll forget where I'm going, and then I'm like,
No,
wait,
I
where
know,
was
I know, I know, I know.
I? Wait, what were we talking about?
When I was a teenager, they told me it was that, and then when I was in my 20s, they told me it was that I just had a baby, and now I'm like 40, and they're
Yeah.
telling me that it's because I'm old, and I'm like, fuck you people, give me the test. I'm done.
Right?
I'm done. I'm done fucking around. I've had these symptoms for 25 years, and it's not. No. I wish
Yeah.
it was because I'm old. And I've also had people tell me it's because you smoke weed. I'm like, are you serious? You think I haven't tried that?
Except for I don't smoke weed and I do that.
Right, no.
So
But
it's
like
possible that it's not the weed. I,
when I
for
was
me, sometimes
16,
think it's mostly just I go on a tangent just
mm,
because I'm so passionate. And because of that, I just forget where I started because
let's see,
I'm
and
not
like
thinking about it.
I thought it was ADD. 5 years ago, I've eliminated that as well.
Yeah.
Like I've
I don't know
eliminated
how
basically.
I don't know how much I put much stock in the quote unquote ADHD
No,
sort
I
of
don't
diagnosis.
necessarily either. But I went down the avenue. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
explored it, and so at this
Yeah.
point, that's where I'm left with the thyroid. Basically, that's where.
Well, it could very well be. That would be more consistent with, say, than ADHD because, like, you can't measure that. Like, it's not, there's no area of
Right.
the brain where they could pinpoint the material, in conception of that. That's when it comes to mental sort of illnesses too. Is that if
Hmm.
you read up a lot about that, it's kind of iffy because unless it's something like schizophrenia, where they can know exactly where to detect it in the brain, it's sort of like just sort of speculation of categories,
Right.
really. So
Right.
if
And
it's a
there's
thyroid
actually
thing, then at least there's something to that where you can like pinpoint it,
right.
fix it,
Right. They can measure
yeah,
it and tell
measure
me
it.
how
Yeah,
bad
it's
it
measurable.
is.
It's
Yeah.
measurable. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna have that done next month. Here's hoping, knock on wood. But like, here's hoping that goes well. But like, oh my god, it just happened again. It just happened again. Oh,
Well,
because I had something.
hopefully,
I'm just. Mm, I usually play
hopefully
it
you'll be
off,
able to
but
figure that out.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you going? So you have an appointment with the doctor?
Uh huh.
Well, I hope good luck
Yep.
with that.
Thank you. I'm sorry. That was a bunch of personal stuff.
That's okay.
Mm.
Personal is okay. I mean, I talk about
Oh.
personal stuff sometimes.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
just
time I
don't
got
know where.
vertigo, that was fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that must have been terrifying.
Oh, it was so terrifying. I was so scared. I thought I was gonna
Mm.
die. Like I never experienced something like that.
Right.
So it is scary, and yeah, that's what the doctors say too. That it's really scary for someone who gets it for the first time because they don't know what's going on. Like I seriously thought I was probably having a stroke or something.
But understandably. Yeah. My
Yeah,
God.
thank God it was just my ear crystals. I
It's
guess
so funny the
that's
things that can
it's
go
fun,
wrong. The things that can go wrong with your body are just so weird
right?
sometimes.
Right, right. But anyways, I gotta get going. I got some stuff I gotta do.
Yeah, me too. I gotta go get him in 45 minutes and I'll probably eat
Yeah,
something maybe alone.
I gotta get dressed. I'm still in pajamas. I'm always in pajamas on our lives.
That's
But I
awesome.
gotta get myself ready and get stuff together and do some
And we can make a
just to
further
make sure.
plan.
I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. That I'm not bullshitting anybody.
Okay.
Just going through my little things. Yeah, no, one more time. That's it.
Okay. So 2 weeks from today, we got one more Caliban on the school schedule at noon Eastern, 9 Western,
Yeah, and
Pacific,
we're gonna
whatever you
have a little
call that.
breathing room and do some
Yep. And we
reading
might do that
of
one.
novel.
Maybe we'll do my reading in the evening, so we don't have to do because it'll be summer by then.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. That works for me too.
And yeah, actually, that's a pretty nice cutoff in a couple of different ways, isn't it?
Yeah, so that works really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I'm
All
looking
right,
forward to
I
next
will
time.
be seeing you then.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay, how do I get off this thing again?
Bye. Bye,
Uh,
everybody.
bye.
Thanks for tuning in, whoever is. Um, leave a comment down below if the spirit moves you because we can always use the engagement here on the channel and maybe show some love for Kitty Cat for doing all of this work. She made all of the slides and everything just for us, you guys. So really, maybe comment down below, give her a heart, show her a little love. I don't know. Um, Come back in a fortnight. What is the date in 2 weeks? Is it June by then? What's today? The 14th. So that makes that the 28th. No, it's still barely May. If my math is correct, come back on the 28th at noon Eastern Standard Time for the next installment of Caliban, which is going to be like, it's really getting intense. I, and then we're going to take a little break and have a reading from my novel. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.